It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night, I should be sleeping like a log. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel alright. You know I work all day to get your money to buy you things, and it's worth it just to hear you say you're gonna give me everything. So I'll rush it alone, 'cause when I get you alone, you know I feel okay. When I'm home, everything seems to be right. When I'm home, feeling you holding me tight, tight, yeah. It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night, I should be sleeping like a log. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel alright. So I don't rush it alone, 'cause when I get you alone, you know I feel okay. When I'm home, everything seems to be right. When I'm home, feeling you holding me tight, tight, yeah. It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night, I should be sleeping like a log. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel alright. You know I feel alright. You know I feel alright.
Yes, we're coming to you live from the Accelerator building in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene, and tonight we're here with the Beatles. We really wanted to go big with our return of the podcast, so couldn't think of any bigger than the Fab Four. So this is actually the Taxmen, a tribute to the Beatles from northeastern Pennsylvania that has blown up quickly in the area, and they're set to expand further out now that they've signed a management deal. Would you guys introduce yourselves and tell us your position in the band?
I'm Ryan. I'm the drummer. And Nick, guitar and vocals.
Patrick, keyboard, harmonica, tambourine, and vocals.
Anthony, guitar and vocals.
So we're going to talk about how they got into the Beatles, their approach to recreating this iconic music, their original band, the Cryptid, and much, much more. So if you joined us from the beginning, you heard how good they sound, and we'll have another live performance for you at the end of the hour. So please stay tuned for the full hour, and we would love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. And if you're enjoying the conversation, please like, please share on your social media platform of choice. And before we dive in, I just want to thank our sponsor, Special Guest, who has provided us with this great office space, the equipment that is recording this right now, and the funds to make this podcast and our website possible. Also want to thank Justin from Ionic Development for being the guy behind the scenes there, who's making all this happen, make it all sound great, look great. So thank you to Justin as well. Special Guest allows anyone, anywhere to hire live entertainment on demand. The app removes the friction from the talent booking by facilitating the discovery, communication, agreement, and payment process, working with the booker and the artist to make sure they both get what they need to make events happen at venues, house parties, or wherever. So whether you're looking for live entertainment or you're a performer of any kind looking to get hired, visit specialguestapp.com to see what they can do for you. And thank you so much to Special Guest for sponsoring us and making this possible. So how did the idea form to create a Beatles tribute?
So I started it. I initiated it.
Oh, okay.
We all knew each other in the scene, and like probably every other person that has heard these guys play in their original band, I was like, Nick has like a John voice. He's a little bit of Paul there. You know, I've heard Pat scream and stuff. And I just knew they were Beatles fans. And I was looking for something new to do that wasn't going to maybe take a lot of time and would hit the ground and like go.
Okay.
So I texted Nick and I was like, hey, you guys think you'd want to start a Beatles tribute band? And it happened overnight, basically.
Wow.
It was very easy to start it. They were on board right away.
Yeah, he hit me up, and then I just immediately turned to the rest of the band. I was like, Anthony wants to do a Beatles cover band. You guys in? They're like, yep.
I think it was like 28 minutes later or something. You were like, yeah, we're in.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a conversation.
Yeah.
Just like, yo, Beatles? Yeah.
So why the Beatles? Why not any other band?
Why not?
I was gonna say
The
that.
Beatles are awesome, man. Everybody likes the Beatles.
That's true.
They've been my favorite band my whole life.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I was down immediately the second I heard it. And
Yeah.
I think again, I was looking for something that wouldn't take a lot of work. I mean, it takes a lot of work to do this, but you know, it's an easy sell. You know, you say the Beatles, and whether you like the Beatles or you don't know who we are, you're still interested in what it could be. You know, which is enough to kind of get it going.
Right.
I think.
It's easy and it's not. Like it's easy in that like no matter who you reach out to, like you say like, oh yeah, we're a Beatles band, anyone's gonna want to book that because they know people love the Beatles. But if you do it wrong, you only get to do it once.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it's all downhill.
yeah.
So how did you choose the name then, the Taxmen?
Well,
I don't even remember.
Yeah, we went through a bunch of names. It was like, oh man, we really wanted to go with a song title. So we just threw out a bunch of song titles. I mean, I know mine was Blue Jay Way. I really wanted to do that. And
Okay.
He was She Loves You in
She
the
Loves
You in the
Yes.
Yes.
Which, dude, that would
Mr. Kite and the Benefits
Mr. Kite
was
and the
another one.
We have
Anthony
this.
was Paperback
We have this
Writers.
book that just has like every song listed on the back. So the one night after practice, we just went down and tried a name for every single one, and like it just.
She
I
Loves
think-
You in the Yes.
It basically became the first one that we all could say yes to.
Yeah.
Because we all had like our own like reservations about like everyone that everyone else had come up with. So that was the first one we're like, yeah, that could work.
Okay. So, did you guys? I mean, you mentioned they're your favorite band, but did you all kind of grow up with this music, or did you kind of discover the Beatles a little bit later?
I grew up with it. I mean, my parents were fans. My uncle, everyone, and my guitar teacher, Stingray, was one of the first bands he taught me. So I just pretty much since I was a little kid always liked the Beatles.
We grew up together. Like, literally, we've been friends since we're shorter than that stand there. And
It's pretty.
he
tiny.
always liked the Beatles, and because he kind of did, like, I grew up with it too.
Okay.
I remember having, like, an MP3 player with a USB on it. Like, it was one that you just plug in, and you just, and I think it could hold, like, 20 songs, and I think, like, 15 of the 20 songs that I had were Beatles, and the other ones were, like, The Killers and, like, Halo 2, I think. It was, like, Halo 2 music
Halo
on
2
it or something.
song.
Like,
Hey, that soundtrack's
like Steve Vai.
That's my ringtone.
I know it is, dude. I know. Brings me back. But yeah.
I don't know how I got into the Beatles. Like, because growing up, no one in my house listened to them. My dad, like my mom, like never really was big into like any band particularly. My sister, she's 7 years older than me, so growing up early 2000s, she was, big in like Good Charlotte and Sick Puppy. So like that's what she was listening to. And my dad, like literally would go on any trip, it would always be a Billy Joel CD playing. My dad listened to a lot of Billy Joel. So growing up, the Beatles wasn't in our house. So I honestly don't know where I heard it, like how I got introduced to them being like my favorite band. It just happened. It just is. I don't know what happened.
Well, they're just such an omnipresent band
Yeah.
in general that I guess you just kind of you even absorb a lot of the songs by osmosis. I think it's just the songs are everywhere.
Yeah.
I always say to people like who, I'll tell them about us, and they're like, "Well, I don't really like the Beatles." And I'm like, "But you know the Beatles."
Right.
You know these songs, you've heard them, inevitably. So, and they're like, yeah, I guess that's true. I'll come check it out. And then they end up liking the show, because, it's still live music at the end of it.
They're also just wrong. So like,
yeah, basically.
So it's your job essentially just to prove them wrong.
yeah, you guys are wrong if you're out there and you don't like it. No, just kidding.
So what is it about the Beatles music that speaks to you personally?
You could hum it. I mean, plain and simple. A lot of their songs, you could hum their songs, and you have. I always felt like with the Beatles, me and Nick were talking about this. The members of the band, you almost feel like you, in a way, know them. Like I feel personally with a lot of other bands, when people typically think about them, nobody really ever knows. No offense if you play bass out there, but nobody knows the bass player or the drummer. They usually know the singer and the guitarist or something. But the Beatles, everybody knows the Beatles, and everybody can relate to somebody in the band. That's how I feel about it.
For me, it's the constant change of style too. Pretty much all the bands that I consider my favorite bands, it's like constantly changing. And I always love that. You know what I mean? You could, no matter what you're into at the time, you could always find a Beatles song that fits,
Yeah, it's basically running off him, and it's constantly changing between albums, but also constantly changing between the members.
Mm-hmm.
Like, from 62 to 69, a Paul McCartney song is always going to sound like a Paul McCartney song. It's not going to sound anything like a John Lennon song or George Harrison song.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, like, you can listen, if you can listen to every single album, if you're like, oh, I don't really like John Lennon's writing, but I like Paul McCartney's, you can still enjoy every single era of the Beatles because it's always going to be like that.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with all of those answers too, and like with like kind of what Ryan said, like the songs are just good. Like every song is recognizable, and like when they all sing their respective songs, like it is different from the other person. So if you don't like John, like Pat said, you can listen to Paul and still enjoy it, and like it doesn't ruin it just because you don't like John,
Right.
And then same thing with everybody else. They're all such unique songwriters.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get all of it. You get a little bit of everything instead of just one same style the whole time, like from other bands. But
Right. Well, so what is your favorite era of the Beatles? Because obviously you can break it up in all different.
1966.
You knew exactly right away.
This is for him. He'll tell you all about it.
The Revolver era, the Sgt. Pepper's, that like what people would call the middle era, the psychedelic era, has always been my favorite, probably. Those are probably my two favorite albums, Revolver and Sgt. Pepper's. So, I mean, that's it for me. But I mean, I
kinda
love
tend
the
to
whole,
agree.
I love the whole.
I would agree too. Yeah.
I kind of tend to agree. The early songs are great, but the early songs I feel like are really good car songs. Like She Loves You and the Yaz. You're jamming in the car and you hear that song. But I feel like there's those types of songs that you dance to or listen to in the car, and then I feel like there's a lot of their later era stuff. Like you could just sit there and listen to it alone and really like get a lot of the parts of the song. Like
Right.
like Strawberry Fields, for instance. Like I don't know.
The experimental era. Was really 65, like late 65, 66, 67.
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing I love. Like, Hard Day's Night and Help are like probably my two favorite albums, like, as a whole. But for no one, Revolver is my favorite song, but the songwriting that they were doing in like 68 was just something else to me. Like, I love that era of songwriting for them.
Someone gave me a hard time once for saying Hard Day's Night was one of my favorite albums. Actually.
It's such a great album. It was their first original album.
It's a great album. It's fantastic. It's the first all original, yeah.
How about you, Slick?
I agree with everything you all said, and that's pretty much what I was going to.
Yes.
I do like the middle era the most too, and then I like the middle era with like Sgt. Pepper's, and then it goes towards the end, and like Abbey Road has such incredible songs, of course, and then you could kind of circle back, and then the early stuff would be like the end of the list for me. Like I still love it. Like there's plenty of songs in there that I would probably choose over later songs, but as a whole, once they kind of stopped touring and got the opportunity to just experiment, you know, post meeting Bob Dylan, you know, and then it got really cool.
Good old,
Having their dentist stand.
good old Dr. Robert.
So when you have a band as great as the Beatles, who obviously many people consider to be the greatest band of all time, how do you even begin to emulate that? How, you know, where do you, as a musician and as a performer, is that intimidating that you know, people are naturally going to compare you to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the best way to answer it is like, you know, again, Nick has a really great John Lennon tone of voice. So, you know, and then what Pat said, like when you see a Beatles band, they've either got it and you love it, or they do it one time and it's like, it's no big deal. So if you're going to do it and you're able to do it the right way, almost effortlessly, you know, this is just how Nick sounds, you know. I've been telling him since the beginning, and it's a huge part of our success. You know, and then we kind of as a group decided, you know, are we a tribute? Are we a cover band? You know, at the end of the day, we want to play these songs as accurately as we can while still giving it like our own little style. And then with modern gear, you know, it's inevitably a little more rockin', you know, and all that. And, you know, so we're able to kind of put our own spin on it while still playing it how you're going to hear it on the record. And it's going very well. People are receiving it very well. And again, I think it's because of the lack of effort, just based on how natural Nick's voice sounds like John, you know.
Yeah, I don't think you're trying hard enough.
Try a little harder next time.
Let's say I think we emulate a different way than other Beatles tribute bands do. Like, you look at bands like Rain and Beatlemania and all that stuff, and like, obviously we don't have bowl cuts. We don't get up there and
Obviously.
in suits and ties every show. The way we do it is we approach it a way as like not doing it like how, like if we do like Hard Day's Night as an album, we approach it not as how they would have done it in '64. Like we look at it in a way like, how would they have done it in 1970? Like if they had gone and played those songs again, how would they have done it then?
Yeah, we're not acting. We're literally picking up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people tend to forget that. I mean, I'm sure most living people now would have never seen the Beatles live, and that they stopped pretty early on. That they didn't really have those, like, you know, what bands now. It's such a legacy thing where, you know, like the Rolling Stones could like fall asleep on stage and people would pay $1,000 a ticket to see it just because, oh shit, it's the Rolling Stones. How many more times can you get to see the Rolling Stones?
Well, the rate Keith Richards is going probably like 20 more years.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
For me, my part's easy. I'm a drummer, so I can't hit a wrong note. These guys are the ones that are all talented. If you're out there and you want to play an instrument, play the drums. You can't hit a wrong note.
It's like the saying is it takes talent to be a drummer, but percussionists just hit things. So it takes talent to be a drummer.
You guys are the talented ones that just hit stuff and break it, and sometimes burn it.
Do break some sticks
Do.
on the occasion.
Just a little stringy over here.
So obviously you're kind of, if you're learning these songs, you're kind of, you know, breaking them down and figure out how they work and all that kind of stuff. Have you found that challenging at all? Has that been tough for you as players? Because obviously you're used to playing your own music and things like that. So, you know, with the band that's recreating music, does that add kind of something to it to have to figure out how those songs work and how to play them?
So I can say, like, us, the three of us being that we were in an original band, you kind of hit the nail on the head right there in saying, like, creating your own music is one thing, but like emulating another type of music is a totally different ballgame. I saw it.
By the way, so for anyone watching, if I don't know how
We
much
lost a couple of these.
these are out in the shot here, but take a shot at home for every time one of these falls off the walls.
Play catch up.
Put it in the comments too. Which one you think is gonna fall next? And we'll see who's right.
Take some bets.
Keep track for us.
Say like green, right 2. And But
we're gonna word this wall.
We'll tax the winnings.
But no, like it's weird trying to play like the drums to somebody else's style in a way. It's kind of cool, I think, but definitely different going from like an original band, like coming up with our own parts, to like you said, trying to emulate, for sure. That's at least I could say, because that's what we always did, was really primarily
It's definitely a challenge, because there is an expectation. When you see a tribute band, people, they want to hear the drum fills that Ringo did specifically, or any George licks that Nick or I are doing. So, to go back off what I was saying before, like we do try to play them how we can. What's nice is there's a lot of resources out there. Like there's one YouTube page specifically that like this guy does a lot of isolated instrumental covers, so you can actually see both guitar parts. And he's I mean, I know Nick and I use him all the time with learning certain stuff, but in addition to doing it by ear and just running it like 80 times in the basement, until we get it, there's a lot of different approaches, but yeah, definitely a challenge to do it the right way so people are happy with what we are doing. Anyone else?
All right.
Excellent.
So, has this project kind of made you research the Beatles a little bit more, or look at, well, how do they do things, or you're watching a video and saying, oh, maybe I should try it like that, or that sort of thing? Has it made you think about those kinds of things a little bit more?
Some people don't need to research the Beatles. Nick.
I did a lot of reading about them growing up, so there's a lot of stuff I kind of already knew, but I do find myself like looking up a lot of what they did in the studio and stuff like that. And I brought up to you recently, like with Ticket to Ride, for example. We do 2 guitars in that song. There's really 3 guitars in the recording. And it's impossible to recreate it live because it would require Anthony to switch mid-song guitars. But like, yeah, I do read a lot about. I think there's a website, Beatles Bible, that tells you everything. That's out there. You can read about every recording session and every song. And
does that make you the
every
Beatles
take.
Pope?
I think honestly,
Maybe
I
one
probably,
day, yeah, I mean,
I probably knew the least going into it. Like I grew up with the Beatles. My parents listened to them. I knew them. But like, I didn't know everything. Like Nick knows everything. I know Pat knows a lot, and even Ryan knows a lot.
Yeah.
So for me, like I found myself doing a lot more research outside of the songs, just to understand, what their lives were like and what they went through. And, I've watched all the documentaries that have come out and kind of caught myself up, because, I try to like, really make this like a part of who I am in a way. Like I want to know that stuff because I think it'll ultimately help me be a better musician in the band, and help me just be better at my role, knowing all that information about, whose music we're playing.
The thing I have to research the most is just how to play the songs. Because like you were saying before, like we do have a book. It's
Wrong.
it's all the scores of every song they wrote.
Yeah.
And it's produced by Hal Leonard, which
Oh.
I don't know if, like anyone who's dealt with sheet music stuff, Hal Leonard is a pretty reputable publisher. And there are times where we're learning a song and I'm just looking, I'm like, that's just not correct.
Like you play it and you're like, that does not sound right.
They've had
at all.
songs in the wrong keys. They've had out of place chords that are just most of the songs correct, then just one chord consistently just not correct. They've gotten the lyrics wrong in some songs.
Sorry,
I think he probably met Dr. Robert before he wrote
so
that book. Maybe
every time we're going
During
through
the
it,
writing.
like it's just like one song we've been working on is Revolution, and first off, it's annoying already that they have 2 versions of that song that are in their own separate keys, but the book has the versions in different keys entirely.
Oh, wow.
It's just annoying.
Has neither.
Yeah, and I'm so just looking. I'm like, okay, this is. And sometimes they're right, so I'm like, okay, that's good. And there's other times where I look at, I'm like, all right, this one I have to figure out on my own.
So remember I said these guys are talented? They're talking about keys. I just hit stuff.
You have a tuning key.
Yeah,
Dude, you do have to tune your
You do
drums.
play a good
You always
G,
look
G chord on those drums,
Dude,
though,
Yeah.
when I need you to.
Yes. Sometimes.
I'll be like, Brian, play me
Sometimes
G. And he's
he'll be like, Nick, yeah, he'll be
like, so seriously.
Nick, yeah.
We're like, good.
Yeah,
Give me a G and I'll.
He's talking about us being the talented ones. He's over here. He'll just hit his snare. And it's like, oh, that sounds bad. That sounds good. I'm like, I just heard a flop. Drum go flop. That's all I know.
Yeah, be like, does that sound better? I'm like, sounds
It sounds
Same-
the same.
like a
same as
drum.
it did.
It sounds like a flop.
So, have you guys been able to see any members of the Beatles live at any point?
Saw Paul once and Ringo twice. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really cool.
How were those shows?
They were really good. Yeah, I saw Paul at Citibank Field. That's the one that was initially
Okay.
seeing. Right? I think back in like 2008. That was a really good show.
That is Shea Stadium adjacent.
Yeah. Shea Stadium Jason. Thank you, Matt. That was a good show. That was the first time I saw a Beatle, and then I saw Ringo in Bethel Woods a couple years after that, and then again at the Kirby Center with the All Star Band. So that was a good show too. Yeah, it's cool to see them there. It was cool that Ringo was here. Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah, right. It's
He's down the road.
Yeah,
They used to
yeah,
down the
literally
street.
down the street.
Yeah. So
I never have seen any of them, but that night you must have seen Ringo at the Kirby. I was playing a solo show at Franklin's, and I was like, Ringo's down the road. Like, this is awesome.
yeah.
Why are
But
any
it'd
of
be
you
more
here?
awesome to be at the show, I think, but that was my moment.
Why are you people here watching me?
And what about any of these Beatles tributes? Have you seen any of those?
Yeah, seen Rain a few times, I think. Cast of Beatlemania seen. Trying to think of any I may have forgotten about, but I've seen probably those two a few times. They're good, really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen
It's
any
a
of
full
them.
on show. Full on like.
Did you know
act.
Nick likes the Beatles a lot?
I haven't noticed.
What gave it away?
I mean, he's not wearing anything that would indicate as such. So how am I supposed to know?
No, I guess
Now, are you the
that's
kind of
what it
fan that you're like watching it and kind of picking it apart, or you're just kind of kicking back and just enjoying it for what it is?
picking it apart.
Usually just kick it back. But yeah, probably. a little
If you
bit
saw
more
them,
than
if we
that.
saw them now,
If
though,
I saw
I'm
them
sure we
now,
would
yeah,
we would
I would
dissect
definitely
it and
point
ruin
out.
it for ourselves.
Yeah, 'cause, yeah, I've seen.
It's like knowing how a magic trick's done. Like,
Yeah.
you just ruined it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Or
I
like
wonder if
watching
that's how
your
David
new coworker
Blaine's
do a
feels when he
shitty
sees
job.
a magician.
Not necessarily a shitty job, but
Just that.
you're like, that's not how I would do it.
Well, I feel
Brave
like
choice.
one of the obvious things that makes you guys stand out is you're so much younger than a lot of those guys. I mean, a lot of those guys, I think, are like, when you think of like Beatles fans, you think of like, somebody's parents or grandparents
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something
true.
like that.
Yeah,
So
we
you
get
don't-
that. We get that all the time.
Yeah.
People are astonished at how. I mean, we're all in our 20s. I'm the oldest. I'm 28. And then it kind of just goes down year by year.
Like singular.
Yeah.
But people love it. People think it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
We're so
What's the
young.
name of the movie that came out where the guy gets hit by the bus
Yesterday.
yesterday? It's really strange, but like when it's like very weird. But like when that movie came out, honest to God, I actually noticed a like very tangible like interest in like, as weird as it is, in the Beatles in our age group, for sure.
I noticed it.
Because of that movie, like honestly, for sure. And that was around the time that we started doing the project.
I noticed it back when Rock Band came out, Beatles Rock Band.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people getting into the Beatles.
Even
I
the
noticed
new-
none of that.
It was
Even the new
909.
documentary. The new documentary is like re-sparked a lot of.
Yeah.
Any guitar player out there is going to know what ultimateguitar.com is. That's where you get all your tabs. And
I
you
even
go to
use
the top
Ultimate Guitar.
100 list, and like it's the entire Let It Be album. All of a sudden, and none of those songs were ever on there.
It's interesting because like when those when they were releasing the episodes, they kind of broke up Get Out and a couple things there. Seeing daily updates from people as they were watching this and talking about it, I'm like, you listen to the Beatles or you care about the Beatles? Like I was
thought the same
surprised
thing
at
on
how many
Facebook,
people.
yeah, a lot of people. I'm like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
You just get in.
So, but you know, I think also maybe from a musician perspective, like just as a music fan, I found it interesting.
Yeah,
You
it was really
watch
cool to
the
see them
process.
in their element. Just, you know, there's no cuts. It's just, it's rolling. You know, you see every minute, you know, and you get to see them be themselves and
Still haven't seen it
interact.
on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I have.
That's because
Shout out
computers
to
scare
Jeff.
you.
Can I make a little
Let's see.
confession? I still haven't fully seen it either.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Nick goes, I don't
already
have
know
to
what
see it. I know
happens,
what
I know how it is. I know how it is.
Yeah, we all know how it is.
I'm not watching it like, are they going to make the
They
album?
play the show. That's how it ends.
You're like, oh, don't let me
Is
down.
this
It is
album
written
going to
that way.
happen?
Is this? Are they gonna break up, or it's a real will they or won't they? Ain't it?
Total cliffhangers.
Well, earlier in the day, I was watching some different interviews with the Beatles, some of their older stuff and some of their newer stuff, just to kind of get in the mindset for tonight. And Ringo had mentioned that like he really didn't like the original documentary that was made from that footage at all, because he's like all they did was focus on like one little fight that they had that John and Paul had essentially, and everybody else like most of it went along great. We all got along well. Like there wasn't a problem. So like he was happy to see all that other footage come out because it really shows that like they did get along. They were friends. Like
Last thing, both Ringo and Paul have said, like, there are things in the new documentary that they don't remember because, like, the original Let It Be documentary has just been cemented in everyone's mind for so long. They just, like Paul says, like, that's just how he thought it was for the longest time.
Yeah. I mean,
And then that came out and it was like, oh, yeah, there was a lot of not that going on.
right.
Yeah, I remember when Get Back came out, Ringo was all on social media like, I told you guys there was happy times. I told you.
Whoever, if anybody in the comments said that the top blue left square would fall next,
We've lost them.
they
That's
win.
like 4 shots.
You win friendship points.
B5
know what you win.
son.
Yeah,
That's like 4 shots right there. Though.
yeah. That's a lot of shots. And it's only Wednesday night. So
We talk a little bit about how other tributes are kind of creating things note for note and stuff. You know, where does it fall for you? Like, what parts do you think are essential to get right, and what parts do you think you can kind of play around a little bit? Because I mean, my personal opinion, I feel like tributes who like play it note for note exactly, and like, I guess if you're a super nerd about it, then you really need to see that. That's one thing. But I feel like the original musicians play around on stage. They do different things, like whatever. That's part of the whole process, like of a live show. Like I don't know why people would want people to emulate to the point where it's
He's
just
getting ready.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say-
Winding up his leg.
no, I mean,
Hold my back.
I'm always very pro trying to recreate note for note for the most part, but I always feel like, and I was actually just thinking about this yesterday, that the best times where you could start to, change it up and have a feel is like a lot of the endings of songs when you have like long jam outs and stuff like that. Like, Don't Let Me Down's a song we typically end with a long outro. And we'll just
Sometimes
jam.
too long.
Sometimes too long. Or Hey Jude, the Na 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 part, you know what I mean, is a great time to start kind of, doing your own thing and having the musicians who we are inside come out a little bit more than just recreating. I personally like to recreate, the core of the song as good as you possibly can, and the intros, but
To
once
us,
you have those outros long, John,
Harmonies are like an obvious
critical.
one. That's what you want to hear when you hear the Beatles. So that's a huge focus for us.
I
Making
think
sure
the
we do a lot of
person
that.
that said it best, honestly, was you, Pat.
What'd I say?
When you, I think you said it best when you said that we play it like how the Beatles would play their songs.
Last thing, to us, the biggest thing, the most important thing is creating everything ourselves. We don't play to tracks at all. And it gets annoying with some of their songs. It gets very difficult with really just the 4 of us at times, but we everything that was in the song we do ourselves. Like I'm up there in my little box with my laptop of sounds connected to my keyboard, and if there's horns in Sgt. Pepper's, I have horns going. Like we don't have that ready on the back burner just to hit a button.
Yeah.
He's
to
a
go over
special
when it needs to
man
go
in
to.
that on the machine. He hits a button.
But then that
It's
also
a-
limits us, though, because like Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper's as an album, like there's a lot going on there. That,
Oh yeah,
you
that's
know,
just going to be a headache.
and-
It's-
Yeah, well, I think
we're not going to compromise our beliefs. That's just going to be an absolute headache.
Yeah, well, you know, there's some things that could help us there. I think working with special guests, they have access to talent all over the country. You know, like I know that they'd be able to you know, locate an orchestra style of some type, whether it's for Eleanor Rigby, we need a small string section, or we're doing a Magical Mystery Tour song. We're doing I'm the Walrus, and we don't have to play anything. We just have other people play it.
Having
you know?
like,
I think
That's everything.
we
That
want
is
to be able
the
to do
secret
it.
ingredient.
We want to be able to do it live. Like we don't want to. For now, we're trying to stay away from having to play tracks, like Pat said, or you know, click a button and then something else is doing all the work. You know, we're trying to stay away from that. But yeah,
having that fifth member too always helps with the bass player, because typically the bass players we've had in the past too are also guitarists too. So a lot of times someone could sub over
piano
and things
players.
like that, and piano players, yeah. So
Try to
that
replace me?
definitely helps out a lot.
Do I need to find a new job?
never.
Do I got to
You have
look?
job
Do I
security,
got to
for
look at the
sure.
WANA ads?
I
You
went
pick
back.
up some more hours.
Do I need to download
Oops.
Indeed?
I went back and I watched the live stream from when the Cryptid did our last show. The last one we played, and I was laughing because he's saying that it's annoying having to do all the stuff live, but I was laughing because our song "I'm Just Tired," in the very beginning of it, you switched 3 instruments in the first 30 seconds of the song. You're playing the clarinet, you put that down, you pull up the melodica,
Yeah, I
you put
did.
that down, you turn it.
And here's the
I had to play a clarinet, a melodica, and 2 different keyboards in that song.
here's the ironic.
More
I am-
work than the Beatles.
I am literally in a box every single show, and I feel so safe. I love it. It's like a
plays-
security
He
blanket.
hasn't even mentioned that he
all
plays the
the
cowbell
air-
yet.
He plays
dude.
all like the breathing instruments, like they require breathing, and he has asthma. So like,
And he
that's
sings all the
irony.
really
And
high,
he sings.
screamy, loud Paul parts.
And
We're trying to kill him.
now that you mentioned it,
We
my
put him to
inhaler,
work.
my inhaler's in my jacket over there, which doesn't help me at all.
Yeah.
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 That answer your question.
Thank you, Confucius.
How
We're
do
off
we
track.
play? Oh goodness.
So are you playing the hits, or are you playing the deeper cuts? Are you kind of playing a mix of both?
Great question.
Everything.
Great question.
My goal is, I know personally, I want to do everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything.
Right now, it's,
every Beatles song, as many solo songs as we can manage, because like right now we don't have any, but that is another thing we have our mind set on, is doing, like Wings doing the All-Star Band.
Oh yeah, there's more catalogs that you're opening up there.
Yeah.
I think too, like, you know, when you see the tribute band, you want to hear the hits. You know, you want the songs you know. So, you know, of course, so we were like, well, let's learn them all. You know, let's learn as many as we can. But then what's nice is we're not all on the same page about that. So, like, Nick specifically is such a Beatles fan. So, like, you know, 8 Days a Week is a great song, but everybody in the world knows it. So Nick doesn't pick those songs.
take a shot every time.
Nick
someone
wants
says
to
that.
play Blue Jay Way,
He's a Beatles fan.
or I mean, you know, What You're Doing. Like, what's another deep song that we play?
Dig a Pony.
Dig a Pony, yeah. Like, you know, all these songs that you may not have
Sexy City.
known originally, being a Beatles fan. You know, so we do a lot of it.
I come to find a lot of our crowd too that comes out are huge Beatles fans, so they're always very, very surprised and
Yeah.
excited when we play songs. Like, you know, we've had people come out and Rick,
Yeah.
you know,
It's probably
loves
refreshing.
Dig a
One
Pony,
thing-
you know, and
Yeah.
that's a song
One
that I
thing
never
that's
thought would be a popular one, but that seems to go over really well now.
one thing that's very rewarding is when you have, like you said, like a lot, like our crowd, like is general Beatle fans. Like they'll know like the B-sides if we do them. But the thing is, like, one of the most rewarding things is when it's someone who was just at the show, like doesn't necessarily know us. They just happen to be at the show at the time, but they're like the Beatles. And the thing is, like, them just, you know, going about their time, and then we play a B-side, and I'm like,
Yeah.
They kind of they're like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
like that's the rewarding bit of it.
So with the these are going to be the tough ones.
no.
These are the difficult questions.
Bring it on.
and
I didn't study, so
Might cause
if there's any math
sandwich?
on the test, I'm gonna leave because that is my worst SAT subject.
Oh, I am no mathematician, so you're good there.
Is a
Thank God.
hot
I'm
dog a
decent at
sandwich?
I like math.
I got literature I got English lit all day.
Is
if you
cereal
wanna
a
go
soup?
No, not like those.
Those are really hard questions.
These songs
Super salad.
could score you points or get you killed, depending on the fan.
Let's go.
So, and I asked this of some other tribute bands that I've talked to, and I've watched them kind of squirm and struggle, and I think this will be even tougher because it's the Beatles. What is in your opinion, just your opinion, what is the best Beatles song ever? Like, what's the best one? And what is your personal favorite Beatles song? Two different things.
Can I go first?
Sure.
Go for it.
Favorite song? I think everybody needs to listen to it. In My Life. Great song. Relatable to everyone. No matter what era you live, no matter where you are. In My Life is a great song. Just a great, great song. No matter who you are, no matter if you like the Beatles or you don't. Great song. Their best technically written song, like what song do I think is technically like the best that they wrote? That's like very hard. Honestly, I kind of heard what you said, and I'm not trying to cheat on their homework here.
You could take because I thought of another
But honestly, and I kind of have discussed
Day in
this,
the life
but
of another one.
I think Strawberry Fields is one of their is or Across the Universe. Oh, geez, there's so many.
It has to be one. You have to pick
yeah.
one.
Probably
Like-
Strawberry Fields, just because it is such a good pop song, in my opinion, and so different for the era, and very catchy, and just very good, and universally very well written and produced.
Okay.
So I'll go with that.
I'll leave a Day in the Life for Pat. I'm also gonna have to say Strawberry Fields is their probably their best song. Just because I don't know, I think it's so perfectly written. First off, knowing the background of it too, just like the backstory of the recording and how there's so many different takes of it that you could find, and you can hear how the song grows and just like little like trivia facts for anybody out there who wants to know. That song was recorded at a certain speed, and then there was another take that they did of the song, and John liked both takes, but they couldn't put it together because they were at different speeds. So you'll actually notice at one point in the song, and I can't tell you exactly where it is now, but you can actually hear the pitch change in his vocals because they took down that reel.
It's at the first chorus.
Let me take you down because
'Cause
I'm
I'm
going to. Yeah.
Hey,
I'm the
See, like,
guy.
and then that's something
likes
like
the
I don't
Beatles.
know.
right on
I
the
don't
toe.
know. That's cool.
Yeah, so and I love how that song builds on itself as it goes through each verse, a new
I
instrument.
had that
comes
one on my
in, and-
MP3.
Yeah,
But
When I
other
was a kid. No, I really did. I had that one.
probably like the
that-
LimeWire name on it, really.
I don't. I probably. I think it was LimeWire. Actually, dude. That may have been
R.I.P.
illegal. Was it the illegal
Hey,
one?
That was
No.
the
The feds
I
are gonna be
didn't
knocking
know.
on your door when you get home now.
I've given the Beatles.
No,
enough.
I had that song.
I've given them enough money
did.
now at this point.
That was one of my 20.
My
Was that song?
favorite Beatles song. That one's a little more difficult. It's either She Said, or It's All Too Much. I don't know, kind of changed. It actually used to be Taxman was my favorite song.
Hey,
for a long
there you
time.
go.
That's why I was very pro it when we came up with the name. But yeah, probably She Said, or It's All Too Much, or Sexy Sadie. I don't know. It's tough.
Nowhere
I'm going
Man's
with
great.
She Said.
There's so many good songs.
Yeah.
Before I go, another fun trivia fact for Strawberry Fields. At the end, it does that fade out and fade back in because Ringo actually went off time on the drums, and then he got it again, and so they just faded it out to silent,
They
and
made
then brought it
silent.
back in because they didn't have any other takes.
Just in
That's
time for
hilarious.
John
For
to
that.
say Cranberry sauce.
Yeah, so that's why it fades out. That wasn't the plan, but I'd say their best song is probably A Day in the Life because one thing that I always think makes great songs is when they're sort of like epics, like, and they change tones throughout. Like you get that in like Stairway to Heaven, like it starts out that very somber like note, and then it goes into like a rockin' song. Same thing with Bohemian Rhapsody. Like they're all like epic songs, and that's what happens in Day in the Life. Like you start off on John's very like somber, like almost psychedelic verses, and then you get that like big orchestral transition, and then it's bang right into the verse with Paul, where it's then just a day in the life, and then it goes back into John's part to close it out. So I think that's what makes great songs,
It's a
like
great
what makes
song.
like the best songs for any band, really. But my favorite song is probably For No One
Oh, it's a
off
good
of
song.
Revolver, because
Yeah,
It's a good one.
it's a good song.
as a pianist, I'm always going to lean towards the piano heavy songs. But one thing I love whenever a band does it is the French horn. Like a French horn, when done right, is just so tasty. It's one of the coolest and best sounding things ever when you have a French horn done right in a song.
You ever listen to the Who? A lot of French
Who?
horn in early Who songs.
Yeah, well, you know my stance on the Who.
Yeah, give it a chance.
Oh, now we're gonna involve a whole other fan.
We're like, what'd you say?
What is your take on the Who?
Did you say the Beatles are the Who?
The Who?
I think my favorite song, four come to mind, because how do you just choose one? But like I think I kind of gauge it on, I mean, I listen to the Beatles all the time. That's kind of a way that I practice in a way. I'm listening every day. I listen to the Beatles, and like especially if it's a song we're working on, I'll listen to it a lot, so it's stuck in my head and I know what it is. But the songs that I don't ever want to turn off are kind of, my thing here. So like All My Loving, I never want to turn that one off. I love that one.
That's a great song.
I also love Oh Darling. That's an incredible song. The way Paul screams is so cool. Got to Get You Into My Life is another one up there. And then, I mean, there's so many. I think I'll just leave it at that. But then I think maybe their greatest song ever. I think I'm basing it off of just like overall impact on society and culture. Like All You Need Is Love is everybody knows that song.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what that song is, and like the message is beautiful. It's a sing along. Everybody can relate to it. It's so beautiful. And then, I mean, even maybe Let It Be. I think Let It Be might be one of their greatest songs of all time. Because it's got everything. It's got piano. It's got harmony. It comes from a very real place. If you don't know, Paul had a dream about his mom, who had passed. And
I was just listening to him talk about that.
yeah, and he wrote this beautiful song from it. It's got great solos, piano, harmony, the whole thing. As opposed to maybe like a John Lennon song where John is like, well, I just think of funny words and it flows and like that's a song. And sometimes it's not the case, sometimes it's the case. So I think maybe between those two, and then arguably a lot of George Harrison songs can be argued as one of, like, Here Comes the Sun, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Like those are something.
Yeah,
like those are
dude.
some of the greatest Beatles songs
So
ever.
good, man.
And there's a lot of different criteria, but
Like I said, that 68 songwriting.
yeah,
It was
that-
great.
The Get Back section.
The three of us all picked a favorite song from Revolver.
Did we?
Let's get to
Yeah,
that.
so Revolver for the win.
She said.
Well, listen to you guys doing some of these like come together. Like you don't think about how bizarre the lyrics are,
Right,
Because
yeah.
everybody remembers
Yeah.
"Come Together Right Now" over
Right.
me, and everybody can sing along to that.
Yeah.
And that's the part that gets played in commercials and movies and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. And then you start to read the rest of it, and you're like, "What?"
It's like nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, that's a
Dr.
lot of their
Robert
songs.
was a strange man to them, I guess. Yeah, that's a good point. Going back to what Anthony said about John,
Yeah.
just like Jagaroo Deva, like where
Like, he just says stuff,
stuff
I mean,
happens.
But
He
that's how
just
you write
says stuff.
songs. You just improvise words and freestyle your words, and then you get your melody, and then if it works, it works, and whatever. So
That's the funny thing. Anthony said I tend to get the more screamy, loud vocals to sing. Nick, somehow the lottery comes. He always gets the nonsense lyrics, and I'll take that chance.
but those are harder to
Yeah.
remember.
Well, I guess you could technically make a few of them up, right?
Oh,
It just
yeah.
kind of fit the spirit.
That's what I
Seriously,
did.
though.
That's what I did for the longest time with Dig a Pony. I would just kind of make
Yeah.
stuff up because I figured no one would notice.
They probably didn't.
Yeah.
Rigatoni.
But I don't know though, because then these diehard Beatles fans come on. I'm like, I don't want to be corrected on that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, yeah. So, kind of similar to the last one. What do you think is their best album, and what is your personal favorite album?
Revolver and Revolver.
Two separate albums.
No, actually, Revolver is my favorite. I think Sgt. Pepper's was probably their best all around. But Revolver's my favorite, without question.
Yeah, I think Sgt. Pepper's is up there for me. You know, I mean, I think Let It Be and Abbey Road have, like, every song is, like, great. Like, I could go through the whole album and, like, again, not turn it off, you know, as opposed to maybe some of the earlier stuff where I'm skipping around to get to my favorite songs.
Yeah.
You know, so, but that's another tough question. You know, it just depends on how I'm feeling that day, you know, or what we're working on as a band. You know, if we're working on songs off of A Hard Day's Night, well, I'm going to love Hard Day's Night for a while, you know, and try to master those, you know, but yeah, those three probably, Sgt. Pepper's, Abbey Road, and Let It Be.
That's my favorite. Like I said earlier, it changes, but Hard Day's Night is always consistently up there, just because every song on it is just, well, every song on every album is just a banger, but it's just something about that album always like just always connected with me. Probably their best album, probably because it's so diverse and wild, is probably the White Album.
White Album.
It has just some of the
everywhere.
most
It's like 20.
absurd songwriting, like absurd songs, just weird harmonies and melodies. It's just such,
You kind of get like all of it.
Yeah,
in the
like-
White Album.
yeah.
You get,
like that's the thing. Like you get, like the songs, like as just a general listener, there are some songs on there that to just a person walking down the street would be like ear scratching. But like as a Beatles fan, listening to, you're like, that's just so cool.
Like Sgt. Pepper's. It's good. They're all good.
Ryan's just happy to be here.
Save it.
Ryan's just having a beer.
Safe answer. Just
Yeah.
all, it's just all good.
I always love
As long as everyone has fun.
always loved-
Rubber Soul is another good one. Like, there's a lot of songs off Rubber Soul I really like.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
more than most.
There's like a chain there in album inspirations too. I mean, Rubber Soul came out and that inspired the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds, which then inspired Sgt. Pepper's. So it was like,
Right.
yeah, they all kind of chained
Pet
out for each
Sounds.
other.
And
Too.
then Brian also had a
Yeah.
break.
And then Brian Wilson, after that, he made Vegetables, and that was one of the weirdest songs.
Is
ever.
that where we're headed?
Could be.
Vegetables is a pretty good
It's
song.
a good game to be
Hey,
in.
another little trivia. He claimed that Paul McCartney recorded him biting the celery in that
He
song.
has no memory
And Paul
of that.
does not.
He has
have
no
any
memory of
that
it whatsoever.
happening. So I don't know who's
a good one.
wrong there, but yeah.
Somehow I think they're equally wrong. I don't know how it's possible, but I think at the time they're both incorrect.
Yeah.
Are there is there such thing as a bad Beatles song? Is
Yes.
there?
Yes.
Yes,
called,
there
It's
is.
called Bad Boy.
It's called,
Yes.
One
it's
Beatles
called
song. Helter Skelter.
Love Me
honey,
Do.
what's the honey?
Funny
Wild
don't?
Honey Pie.
Wild honey pie. Not honey pie.
Wild honey pie.
honey pie.
Wild Honey Pie is one of those ones where, like, general listener, it's ear scratching. I love that song.
Yeah,
I'll put it on. I'll
I
listen to it in
actually-
its entirety.
I genuinely do too. There's only one Beatles song I skip, and that's Bad Boy. I'm not a fan of that one. It's an early song, and
There's definitely a couple.
There's like, yeah, not good songs by them too, for sure.
It's like picking your
Love
least
Me
favorite
Do.
kid.
That's
You just can't do
controversial.
it.
Yeah.
Love Me
But
Do.
you
I
have
know a
to.
lot of people. I'm probably gonna get hate on
But
this,
deep
but
down,
I,
you
I
know.
don't. I really honestly do not like Love Me Do. That is one of those songs I never understood. Like, no offense, no offense to anyone.
I got to,
I
I got
just-
to play
the Beatles.
harmonica, so
I
it's
just
fun.
never got it. I don't know. I just never got
A
it.
Taste of Honey.
Like-
It's all
A
I
songs.
love that song. Are you kidding me?
Oh, why don't we do it in the road? That's not a very good song or title. It is a real song.
Or title.
It is a real song. I didn't just say that, but yeah, there's some not good.
I think some of the earlier records, I could choose songs that were probably bad Beatles songs. But that's just me.
Yeah, there's some bad.
I controversially think that Helter Skelter is very overrated.
Yeah. Nick hates that song.
I don't
Just
hate
say
it. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
It's like, I
But
don't
think it's
hate
as-
any Beatles song.
Yeah, same. Except Bad Boy. But yeah, I don't know. Helter Skelter, I think it's overrated. It's okay.
It's fun to play. And
I'm just
yell,
here to have a good time, man.
on my fingers.
Well, it's like a lot of people credit that as like, you know, an influence in metal music and stuff like that too. Like that it had that little, you know, that kind of darker.
It was heavy.
Heavy sound.
Real
to it,
heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, everyone always says that was Paul's attempt at out-hooing the Who. And some people think he succeeded. I don't think he did.
Yeah, we know you don't think you did.
And also, I don't know. I mean, I'm also a huge Kinks fan too, so I like to think that the Kinks had a huge influence on the heavier rock music, and I mean, what they really got me and stuff like that. So I don't know, but yeah, it definitely was an influential song. I don't like it.
I mean, it was definitely one of a kind,
Yeah,
you know. So for them to have that heavy song was just, it was cool.
It's very hard to play that song and not laugh hysterically, like when you're playing it, because you're like, dude, we're playing Helter Skelter. I don't know.
But that
It's
song
very
is
funny, like
that
in-
song is like one of the most requested songs though. Like,
Oh, really?
most shows we play, people are like, do you know Helter Skelter? And for the longest time, we didn't. And like now we're like getting there. You know, it's almost ready.
Hey, if you're laughing now, just wait until you can't keep a straight face when you sing Honey Don't, because we're going to make you sing Honey Don't.
Oh, good.
and you also have
Ringo
to say
song.
you got blisters on your fingers too.
Oh, I did say it last time. we
You
played
did say that.
I did.
Yeah, I remember.
Screamed
hearing
it. Yeah. I've got blisters on my fingers.
That's gotta,
Screamed it. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
gotta be a thing
Yeah,
man, every time.
Yeah.
I'm a
Hard
free bitch,
to
baby.
not play that without laughing.
For sure.
Yeah, we did play it once live at a show without really practicing it.
Yes.
We practiced it maybe
like
one
once,
night. We had
yeah.
one practice where we were working
Yeah.
on it a little
One
bit.
practice and no
But
bass
it's like,
player.
I mean, it's really like a pretty simple song. Like, there's a couple lead guitar licks, but they're simple. But like overall, it's Pat who has to do the most work, you know, singing it. But that's what I think.
All right, so let's we'll get away from those more difficult questions there. But I want you to know. So I want you to tell me who's the John, who's the Paul, who's the George, who's the Ringo of the group. Maybe in terms of personality or who you identify with, not necessarily what you play. Who do you, if you had to? And I'm sure you might have different answers.
That might be
as
the
well.
most difficult.
I think. So when we started this band, you know, we wanted to be different. We didn't want to necessarily fit those roles. And inevitably, I mean, you know, like, let's take Pat, for example. He sings Paul songs because he could scream and do things like that. But, like, Nick also sings Paul songs.
Yeah.
You know, Pat plays piano, but he's still not really a Paul. Like, I play lead guitar, but so does Nick. So, I mean, you could say I'm the George, but you could argue Nick could be the George, too. You know, Nick probably is a little bit of a mall, except for Ringo. You know, but then I could also be Ringo. So it's like we didn't want to do that. So that's a good question, man. That's a really good question.
I would
do you
honestly
guys-
say, so to kind of go off of what Anthony said a bit, and this is, I hope this doesn't come across as like cliche or like whatever, but like I just feel, personally, I feel like me playing Beatles songs, I don't feel like a Beatle, because we're not like reenactors or like, that's not really what our type of thing is that we do. But I can say personally, my favorite Beatle, the one I probably identify with and, you know, enjoy the most is probably John. I really like John's songwriting a lot. I always did. But in terms of like a person in the band who I personally feel most like, I don't feel like any of them, to be honest, because that's just not what we kind of are going for in this case. I don't think so, at least. I never got that impression.
Yeah, like thinking personality wise, I don't really think any of us act like them too much. Because you know, a lot of people would like say that like I have the John voice maybe, but I don't think I'm
Not
anything
maybe,
like him.
definitely.
I'm not gonna be like, I sound like John Lennon, everybody.
I think
I'll
it's-
say it for
But,
you. He sounds like John Lennon, everybody.
But I don't really have his personality. I don't think. You
Yeah, I
know,
don't
he
think-
was,
I think it's
he
more of
was a
the-
jokester.
None
you
of
know,
us, yeah. I mean, we're all like,
Yeah.
we all goof
I wish
around
it-
like they did,
Dude, yeah.
I think
we're,
it was-
we're young guys, so we can relate in that sense,
I think it was more as an indirect thing because I know specifically you and we've watched Hard Day's Night and Help, the movies, like a million times. And I don't know if you've ever seen them or if anyone watching has ever seen them. If you like the Monty Python or like flying circus type humor, you would love those movies. They're legitimately hilarious. And growing up, like I watched them a lot, and they've probably helped form like a lot of my sense of humor.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of like the jokes and like things I'll be spitting is like stems from watching those movies.
So you got a little bit of a British sense of humor then, because I grew up on like my.
Oh, there goes another one.
Take a shot.
Oh,
How
another
many-
shot. They're all gone.
I didn't even know there were any there.
What the
They're all gone.
heck?
There's 2 left on this side.
Where did those fall?
I don't know. They're silent. I haven't
Dude,
heard
our
any
viewers
single
are-
one.
Well, it's they're very good at sound suppression.
Everybody
They
at
are.
home was plastic.
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess.
So
Our
They have no
viewers
idea what's
are
going on.
Gone
They've got this
now.
bookmark. They're like, I gotta watch tomorrow.
Well, I was
I'm sorry if
laughing
you
as I
bet
was-
that square. You lost. Sorry.
that thing's hanging out. It's crooked.
I was laughing as I was putting them up because I'm like, you see all these podcasts have those everywhere. I'm like, do they actually do anything? I don't.
In a
think
room
they
this
I
do.
big,
don't know.
absolutely
Like,
not.
I really don't think so. And I think in most rooms that because podcasts are done all over the place in people's bedrooms and beautiful $1 million studios and stuff like that. So I feel like, a bunch of little foam things stuck to the wall isn't really doing anything.
Putting you on blast here. There's a whole room that way.
Yeah.
The sound's going that way. It ain't
Yeah,
coming
it's
back.
all going down the hall.
It's just
there.
not coming back here at all.
Yeah. Well, I am no sound expert, so I can't tell you anything there. But yeah, I can tell you that these things did absolutely nothing. They kind of looked cool for a hot minute.
I guess
Yeah,
we'll
they're
notice
cool.
because they
Yeah.
appear they progressively go away
Right.
as this interview is going on.
Yes,
so like,
yeah.
I could compare
This
the beginning to now.
Now,
Right.
people don't know if it sounds bad because they're gone or because they're drunk.
That's true.
Hopefully, one person stayed sober out there and they'll let us know.
He put all his money on that one.
Yeah, it's been waiting.
But to be fair, you were playing with that cap earlier.
Oh
During like 2 or 3 answers, so I'm sure that's all on the audio.
That's just-
It's like,
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Oh.
Way to go, Ryan.
so
My bad.
Take
just
2.
Saying, just saying, sound experts, all right. So your favorite
Oh,
shows
wait,
that you've
one
been
just
able to
fell.
do so far? I guess. Oh,
Oh, that guy's drunk now.
The last one. You lost.
So let's talk about your first show and how that came about. So you guys, your original band, the Cryptid, would play the open mic, the NEPA Scene Open Mic at the V Spot on Tuesdays, quite a bit, and then one day you guys come in with this Beatles tribute, and I'm like, where is this coming from? And you guys sounded great. So maybe talk about how it led up to the open mic, and if the open mic did anything for you guys in terms of getting it out there or anything.
Yeah, I mean, when we started off, we were getting all these songs ready and stuff like that, and that was pretty much the first place we thought of, like, to go and debut it. You know what I mean? At the open. Actually, if you remember, we debuted it there before we even had a band name. We weren't even the Taxmen.
That's
We
right.
went by
John Paul and the Scam.
John
We're
Paul.
John Paul.
Shout out
and
to
the
John Paul
Scanlon.
Scanlon.
Shout out John Paul.
John
and,
Paul
and his
Scanlon.
little
Yeah.
Scanlon was the little Scanlon kid.
Yep. Yeah. Missed that guy.
Yeah, we miss you. Please
Yeah.
come back to the open mic.
He likes
Yeah.
everything I post about this band, so he's watching. He's
He's
paying
lurking.
attention.
He's there.
Keep reviewing your craft beers.
Yeah, that was the place we went to because like it was a good test ground for what we wanted to do because the one thing that the open mic does is it creates a very safe environment for people to just come and just try out something that they're not necessarily like comfortable with or like accustomed to. If they want to try out something new, it just creates that safe environment for them to go to. So we're like, if this was going to be something where we just didn't do it right, that was going to be a place to do it because we know we wouldn't be put on blast for being the worst Beatles band ever.
Yeah. And it was a good place to gauge reaction too, to see if people were interested in it. You know what I mean? And it was fun. I think at that time it was still set up as the competition too, right? So, you know, and then I think we ended up winning not winning, but you know, making it into the finals, which was, you know, reassuring and stuff too.
I remember that because we it was a competition. We did win, and if that was praying, we didn't. Because the thing was if you win, you have to you headline the next open mic. I was gonna be out of town if that happened, so I was literally I left after we played because I had work the next day. I'm in bed and I haven't fully fallen asleep yet, and my phone goes off. I check it and just Nick says we won. I was like, shit, and went back to bed. And so while these guys were playing the next show, I was at a Pirates game watching the Pirates lose.
Yeah, I think too, like with the open mic, you know, like they brought the Cryptid there. I wasn't in the Cryptid. Let's put that out there. But I was with other original bands at the time, and you know, every act that I went through the NEPA Scene Open Mic contest with, it helped me. It helped me grow. It helped push me into the scene, get a lot of work, and it was really great. So then, you know, it was kind of like a no-brainer, you know, when the Taxmen started to bring it there and you know, introduce it to you and to Vinny and the V Spot and just all the people that were supporting you and were always there, you know, and here we are. You know, it definitely worked, and we owe, you know this story, but because of you, we had our first show.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, at the V Spot, you know, and with that never would have happened if we didn't, you know, go put ourselves out there and go play at the open mic contest.
Yeah, it was funny because, you know, Vinny will ask me every once in a while, you know, who's your opinion on this or that, or, you know, you think I should, you know, book this person or that person. But mostly he does his own thing, you know, very, very rarely. But so he texted me and he was like, I have this opening coming up at the last minute, and you know, a couple weeks, and can you think of anybody maybe from the open mic that could play it or whatever? And I'm like, well, you guys have cover band, tribute band, stuff like that all the time. I said, you know, you guys are probably the most well received of that sort of you know, genre. And I was like, and who doesn't like the Beatles? So that was my pitch to him. He's like, yeah, sold. It was like in seconds. It was so.
I think he called me. I think he messaged me the next day, and he was like, "Hey, give me your number right now." And I was like, "Yes, sir." Like, I know what this probably will be about. I'm really excited. You know, it's not. It's probably Vinny probably doesn't ask a lot of people for their number. You know, and tells him he's gonna give him a call in a few minutes. You know, so
I think I was telling you this, but when I was going on vacation to like Myrtle Beach, like before the show, I literally listened to like the set list. Like we like learned all of the songs like before that show, like in how many weeks? Like what, 2 weeks? Like 3 weeks.
That show was the biggest bluff
we knew 11
anyone's ever pulled.
We knew 11 songs the day.
Oh yeah,
it was like, yo, can you guys do 3 hours? Aye. Yeah, all right, guys, we need 3 hours of music.
I told him, I was like, look, man, we know 11 songs.
We gotta learn like 42.
Yeah, we learned like 30 songs in 3 weeks. But then that goes back to what we were talking about before, where it's like all of the, you know, the popular early beat bop songs, like they're easier than some. So it was like, well, what are the easiest songs that we could accomplish in this short amount of time? So then we learned all those ones, you know, and then, but we still were like, well, let's throw in a couple weird ones here and there. And next thing we know, we're playing the V Spot for 3 hours.
If anybody out there needs a tribute band to learn 45 songs in 3 weeks, I'm like, we're your guys.
We're your guys.
We got this, apparently.
If you like procrastinators, we're your guys.
Yeah, we were practicing.
We'll do it. We'll do it right at the last minute.
Yeah, we were practicing
like
a bunch of days a week, and when you were on vacation, and I was playing drums at one point, and I can't play drums. But I can't for Let Me Do It, found that out.
For Let Me Do It.
Yeah, so if you ever don't want to play them.
I don't like that song, so that's one of the songs I don't really
gonna play
like it, so
tambourine.
you could play.
That's true. You want tambourine in that song?
I'd prefer just never do that song ever.
Let Me Do?
We'll have this discussion later.
Yeah.
When
Sorry,
people
Love
talk
Me
to
Do
your
fans.
So what is your what's in your set list currently?
Songs.
52
Beatles.
songs.
52.
Yeah,
I think
quite
it's
a
50.
bit.
Yeah, 52.
Maybe give or take plus or minus
There's
some.
there's also
because-
songs that we've played that we no longer play.
yes,
A small amount, maybe like 2 or 3, 4 at most.
newer songs as well. They're not.
There's
We're
one,
doing-
there's
from
one
the
new song we
1960s,
haven't
but-
done yet.
Yeah,
The brand new Beatles song
Yeah.
that dropped last
yeah,
year.
brand new Beatles songs, but no,
It took me a second.
quite a bit.
It's top on Spotify right now.
Yeah, a lot of songs for sure.
We have a song from every single
Every album that, yeah. And that was like a goal of ours, and we wanted
Yeah.
to do that. But yeah, that's...
We learned the majority of them in the
Yeah.
first 3 weeks.
Yeah, but the longest time we didn't have Magical Mystery Tour. We did get one. We haven't played the song in a while because of our current situation.
Like some of the popular ones we do are I saw her standing there, Come Together, A Hard Day's Night, Twist and Shout, and then you get to the later years, Let It Be's in there, Something, One After 909, Get Back,
all the
We used
Hey
to play.
Jude.
All the
We used to
songs on
play
Let It Be are
Sexy
new in there?
Sadie.
yeah.
We did. We used to play Sexy Sadie a lot, and we
Yeah.
just don't. And I don't know. It's just not that big of a song. I don't know.
It's one to. I mean,
It's not as
Some
big as you
people
would
like
think.
it, but-
It's a banger, dude. Come on.
It's a great song.
It's a sleeper.
And that was the one song that I didn't ever learn. They knew it as the Cryptid prior to me being involved. So that was the one song that I got to leave the stage and go
sit
to
out.
the bathroom or
Yeah.
get a drink or just
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Everybody has that opportunity today because we'll do Yesterday or Blackbird where it's just me and Blackbird is Pat's, Yesterday is Nick's. So I don't get any breaks because Sexy Sadie's gone.
yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah, we used to know that one with the Cryptid and Getting Better too. I think we did Getting Better at an open at the
Yeah,
finals
oh, yeah.
one year,
Yeah.
That's cool.
with the Cryptid. Yeah.
Yeah, wow,
We used to
that's
do Dear
crazy.
Prudence.
That's a while ago now.
We
That's
did.
a couple
Yeah,
years.
used
We
to
did
do
Dear
Prudence.
It's a couple
Prudence.
years.
It feels even further with the pandemic.
I know.
Yeah.
We lost all that.
Yeah.
We lost all that time in between there. So everything that happened before that, it just feels like, oh yeah, that was 10 years
That was a
ago.
decade ago. Yeah, I agree.
Yes,
To be honest.
but I also still write 2020 on accident all the time when I'm writing dates on things. So
For some reason, I wrote 2025 the other day. I don't know why. I have no idea
Are you
why.
drunk?
Ryan, are you
No.
been in a coma?
I just slipped and wrote 5. I was like, it is
Did you
not
break it to you this
25.
way?
2025.
It's 2025.
I remember.
Ryan
What was
just
the
got
what was the
back
day
from the
the what was the day the stock market fell? It was
Which one?
October,
Couldn't tell you.
October something 1929. I remember I was in history class in high school,
In 1929.
and we were talking
It wasn't
about
much history back then.
Here, my
We were-
grandma was born.
we were talking about the stock market crashing, and it was the same
Riveting.
date that day, and it was one of the questions on the test, and I wrote the date on the test. It was October something 1929. I wrote as the date on the top of the paper, and the teacher was like, "You all right today, dude?" That was a tangent. Sorry.
Yeah,
That
what
was
was
a,
the
that was
question?
a side. That was a
The question is what
side.
songs are on the set list.
That was a side note and a half.
It was answered, but
So I'm assuming
Is this
that-
therapy?
That yes, it is. Right? That's
I
why
feel
we
better.
got the couch.
That was
still real good.
That was a side note.
So I'm assuming that first V Spot show went pretty well.
Yes.
That encouraged you to continue. So what have been some of your best shows? Do you think you've had since that time?
We've had some really great shows at the Jazz Cafe, River Street Jazz Cafe, down the road here.
Yeah.
We recently,
Oh, jeez.
we played SBC not too long ago. That was a really great show.
Spike.
But even pre-COVID, we would play the Border Bar in Pittston before it closed, and
Right.
we had some great shows there because these guys, that's where they grew up. So those hometown shows go over well, and with the draw and all that, and especially back then. Any others that you guys can think of?
Favorite show, Freddie Lakuta. God rest him. We played at his house. That was a great show.
That was one of the first
Yeah.
things he
Yeah.
did too.
It was
like
just a Labor Day party he was having.
a party in a backyard.
And he was
It was so much fun.
He was just
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you guys want to come play some songs?" We're like, "Yeah, sure." So it really set up a tent for us to go under because it was raining. Had a whole setup, it was a proper show, and we're like,
It was-
"Damn."
Very
Fetish
kind.
Jameson.
It was very
Yeah, that was
kind
nice.
on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
First of all, they're all very nice people. the family. They're just very nice. It was just very, very like, I don't know. It just felt like, wow, these people view us as like an actual band, and it was just like really cool. I don't know. They're just like very nice. That was very nice. That was probably one of my favorite shows.
I agree. I agree with the ones that were pretty much stated already. The SBC show was a lot of fun recently. A couple of Jazz Cafe shows that we've had were really fun.
Without like sounding like cocky or arrogant, like we, most shows we play like are well received, even if we don't necessarily think we're playing to our best.
Yeah.
Because we all make mistakes. That's what you do when you play live. Like everybody does it. Like everybody you've ever seen on every level makes mistakes. So like, on an individual personal level, we may be a little down on ourselves, but everybody is so nice and everybody thinks we do such a great job, and they all have a great time. They love hearing the Beatles, and that's really rewarding. So like a lot of the shows we get that, so a lot of the shows have been pretty great, I would say.
And you guys had a really interesting opportunity recently too. You played the Beatledd Fab 4 Hour, which is on King's College Radio, WRKC. So tell us about that experience and why that was as cool as it was.
Surreal. It was just surreal to meet the people that we met. First off, just to be in a room of people who were huge Beatles fans was awesome.
But very daunting.
They were like, it was, and it wasn't even that they were just Beatles fans. They were like in the Beatles world.
Yeah.
Like they existed during that time with the Beatles. Like they knew that, and we're like, did you?
Yeah,
like,
I didn't want to believe
like,
anything. Like, leading up to it, that it was even real.
You go into it very cynical.
Yeah, I was like,
it was cool.
But that was honestly, I'm sorry, but yeah.
No, I was just gonna say who we met, but
yeah, that was one of the most, to be honest with you, one of the most stressful shows I kind of.
Yeah, because
I felt so much pressure. Like
you've got all these people who have such like a high standard for the Beatles art, and the thing is, like, the place we played in the Shawnee Room over in Plymouth, and the venue just didn't allow for a full band, so Ryan was able to play, so we had to do a trio, just the three of us. And so we're there like, okay, we're gonna be a man down.
Yeah.
And we got
two men down, no bassist,
no bass, no drummer.
Yeah,
so we're
and it's a whole different experience when you're hearing the band as opposed to the duo or the trio.
like, so we're going in with a stripped band with these people with such a high standard. You're like, I don't know, I'm gonna survive tonight.
But we did. It was cool. Like, Billy J. Kramer was the other performer of the night, and he was a '60s British invasion pop star, who John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote songs for. So he had a really great personal relationship with those guys. And he was like talking about, what did he say about...
He started a sentence with, George Harrison once said to me.
And you're like...
I was like, did someone really just say that to me?
It's crazy.
Holy crap.
And then...
Yeah, he was managed by Brian Epstein and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like...
So, and he was really cool and he was really nice and we helped him and, he played in our break and we closed out the night with Twist and Shout, and it was his idea to his guitar player to come up and join us.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then we jammed Twist and Shout with Billy J. Kramer. And, we met his management team, and they were really great. And then, a man by the name of Fred Seaman was there, and he was John Lennon's personal assistant for the last, 2 years or 18 months of his life or something like that. And, you're like, this guy was friends with John Lennon.
Right.
And here he is, listening to us in Plymouth. It was crazy, and you could see him in the background. He was cool. He was enjoying it. He was vibing to us, and it was just a great experience to be a part of. And shout out Ed Ranieri, it's all because of him.
And Ed's been posting all on Facebook about it too, with that letter that was addressed.
That's
to us
another
from,
thing. You tell him, you say it.
There was a letter that Anthony received from Ed, and it was a had part of a letter that was addressed to us, and it was actually written by Julia Bard, which is John Lennon's sister.
Ed Ranieri has a relationship with her.
Half-sister.
Friends, and she lives in England or wherever. And
Liverpool.
So he messaged her, hey, I know this band. They sound great, blah, blah, blah. They're great, whatever. And she just had just kind words, little encouragement for us, thanks for doing what you're doing. It's really nice, blah, blah, blah.
Wow. So
that's something we'll get to cherish and keep with us forever. And again, shout out Ed Ranieri. He did that for us.
Yep.
It was very, very cool.
I said it still feels surreal. It doesn't even feel like.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, which one of you told the paper guy my name was Mike?
I didn't.
No.
I know the finger's gonna come pointing at me, but I swear to God, I'm not telling
That
that.
was so weird.
Another great show we actually just did was we played Kirby Fest at the Kirby Center. They have a nonprofit fundraiser every year to help raise money for their community outreach and their kids programs. And I have a relationship with the bar manager at Franklin's. One of my first solo shows ever was at Franklin's, just because me and the guy, we hit it off. We were friends, whatever. So he called me the one day and he was like, I'm working with Joel from the Kirby Center to find a band to play there and then come play at Franklin's in the same night. So he like saw, I posted a photo of us or something on Facebook, and it like made him think about us. And next thing you know, we're playing at Kirby Fest, and the Kirby team deemed us the hit of Kirby Fest, which was really cool. We drew a lot of people downstairs to watch us, and that was a full band thing. We were the only full band. And another thing, life changing. Between that and the Ed Ranieri 12th anniversary show, like a lot of cool opportunities these past couple months.
When they did their trio show, I had very good pizza that night and very good cannolis. So my shout out is Giuseppe's in Avoca. Has very good cannolis. Do recommend.
And cheesesteak pizza.
And cheesesteak pizza is very good. So while
Shout
they
out-
were, yeah,
Shout out to Avoca.
I don't know if she'll ever see this.
that's my
We should.
that's my shout out for that night. It's not present.
So all these opportunities have kind of led to the whole special guest thing. So special guest, as I mentioned earlier, is like an entertainment booking app and website, but now they're also getting into talent management as well. So while they haven't made a big thing of that yet, they probably will very soon. But just a few weeks ago, you guys signed with them. So how did that go, and what does that mean for you guys in the future now? What's next with them?
The sky's the limit. To be honest, we
I'd say
have
Tom Petty.
nothing to lose, in my opinion, and honestly, everything to gain. Like we've been doing well, getting some traction as a band. Doing the best that we can to work hard, get there where we need to be, and hopefully this is a really awesome opportunity. It seems like a really awesome team to work for, obviously. They seem to have a lot of resources that otherwise we would not have access to, and I have high expectations. I do. I really do. I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah, that takes it to the next level, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Gets us over that next step that we needed. Sure. Grant said a lot of resources, just a lot of cool opportunities.
Yeah, we've been kind of doing everything on our own, as most bands do. It's very rare that a band starts and then they're doing it. Management, booking, the whole 9 yards. So so we were doing it for a long time, and we've been pretty successful at it. Again, like people are really having a great time. We've created a really great atmosphere at our shows and a really great buzz, and for me it's kind of been by design. Like I'm the guitar player and the background singer. I'm not like a big focal point in like the overall sound, at least in my opinion. So it comes down to how these guys sound, or how we all sound as a group, and we got it. It's there. I if you've ever talked to me about this project, you would know how passionate I speak of these guys and how well they do what they do. So I think, it was inevitable. If it wasn't special guest now, it was somebody else down the road. And for me, I have a little experience with special guests. I actually worked for special guests a few years back for a little bit of time.
Brag about it.
So, it's cool to come full circle, to be with a group of people that I trust, and have known for a while, and I know what they're about. And, I'm excited to work with them and, start this new relationship or partnership, as the Taxmen special guest. And just, again, with like what Ryan said, like the sky's the limit. With the Beatles, who knows what we're going to be able to really do, and on our own, there's only so much we can do, I think. Everybody kind of has their ceiling, and then without management or representation, you can't really break that ceiling.
Right.
So when you get, professionals involved in a huge company, that makes such a difference and will push us past that ceiling or those boundaries that we would struggle to get through without special guest or any representation. So again, it's kind of been by design. Like I do a lot of the behind the scenes kind of stuff, and it's all been to push us to this level where this could maybe become like a full-time job in a sense, or a main source of income. I've always seen it that way. So I've always worked to get myself and my guys to that point. And it's happening, and I wouldn't be able to do it without them, and maybe vice versa. We all kind of have our own strengths and weaknesses that we bring to the table. And as a unit, it's a strong unit, I think,
For sure.
So we should look out for more merch probably coming up soon.
Yeah, we're gonna do some merch.
That's
They're gonna
cool.
special guest is doing. They have a great merch program,
Yeah, they
which
do.
is something we have not done yet. And it's just another thing. We don't have the money or the time to design.
Yeah, people don't realize.
Yo, hey,
a
shots
lot-
fired,
a
dude.
lot goes
It's got
into
some
it.
sweet pins, man. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, we just
Don't put down Benjamin Button over here.
You guys know what I mean. But there's that, and then just the opportunity
killed
to
him.
get us bigger and better shows that
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to get. If I call
Dude,
Penn's
their-
Peak
their
and I go,
merch
hey, I'm
is
in the
awesome.
band, they're gonna be like, I
Oh
don't
my
care.
God.
Right.
Maybe they won't. I don't know. But there's a fine line there, and I think we're an easy sell.
Their merch is like really cool. like really, really, really cool.
I love this hoodie.
Yeah, it's like
There it is.
Like
Nick's
very
wearing it.
cool.
Yeah, I love this hoodie.
I don't know.
So much.
It's kind of like the more geeky bits of it, but like it's like very, very cool. I'm really excited for that too.
The second I got that mouse pad, I brought it to
I think
work
what's great
immediately.
about special guests too is like, talking about the merch. It is something we have been working on lately, and like we're all, Nick has a lot of great ideas. We're trying to bring them to life. So with special guests, they're open to every suggestion we have. At the end of the day, we get to make the last call on things. So like, if we don't like something that they throw at us, that's cool. If we want something really badly, they'll go ahead and make it happen. So the relationship kind of goes both ways, but we kind of have that freedom and that ability to do what we want, in a sense. They're there to guide and give us their opinions and what they think based on their experiences, of course. And so like between the two of us, like I think we're gonna be able to make some really, really cool stuff.
Absolutely.
And good quality stuff. So
And I guess we should mention too that you guys added a new bassist recently.
yeah.
Tentatively.
Tentatively.
Yeah, tentatively.
Don't want him to get too comfortable.
We've had two fill-in bass players. We actually had two full-time bass players that were both brothers. They ended up moving to Pittsburgh. So then we got two more separate times. Two separate
Separately.
paths. Same day.
It's in their genes.
But
They're drawn to Pittsburgh, man. I don't know what it is.
But and then we had two fill-in bass players at the time, which are Jerry Taleo, who plays in Stay Loud and Tori V and the Karma, and Tim Husty of the Husty Brothers and Three Imaginary Boys, and Tim. They're
And,
both
like,
great
everything.
musicians. So they've been really great, and we still have shows with them.
Okay.
But then we have another guy who I'm friends with who says he's in, but he needs like a month or two. He's got plans and and has to learn 53 songs and but I think it'll ultimately be a thing, and he'll be in the videos that we just made with special guests, but we'll hold off on saying anything. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves just
Because
yet.
of the V spot, though, our standard up here for learning songs in 3 weeks, dude.
Right.
He's got to get there.
Yeah,
man.
he's running out of
got
time,
3
man.
weeks.
It's already
He's
been
got 3 weeks
4
to
days.
learn them all, dude.
Yeah, right?
He's got to have an album down right now, at least.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the goal is to have one guy for every show who isn't tied up in
Wait, one guy at each show?
all these other
That's a lot of
projects.
bases, man.
Yeah.
Different
one bass player
every
per
single
show,
yeah.
different guy every
Different
show.
bass player every show.
You know what I mean?
It's like SNL.
Yeah.
We just want one guy. You know, we want there to be. You know,
Right.
we call ourselves the core four because it's been us this whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
We want it to be a core five. You know, we want one guy, and we'll get there. We'll get him.
Call ourselves that. Unless you think
It's,
it's a dumb name, then Anthony made it.
It's
I hear it. I think a salad.
the
Instead of
bassist
the Fab Four, we're
is
the core
like
four.
for some reason the Achilles heel for us at least, and like always has been, literally always since we always started doing music.
It's always bass
I
players.
don't know why.
It is
The
always
Cryptid didn't have a bass
I-
player for like 2 years before. We found
Yeah,
a bass
it
player,
like
then
I
we were-
don't. What is wrong with the bass? It's great. Like play the bass. If you're out there, play the bass. But like I don't know.
Play the bass, you might end up in the tax.
Jobs
Yeah,
are hiring.
Yeah, if you could.
Apply today.
Yeah, but
DLS.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, tentatively bassist
Yeah.
for now.
In case
Play
an
the bass,
asteroid comes down
please.
to Earth or something.
So when in 2020, the you guys put it as the Cryptid, which we've mentioned a few times earlier, is your original band, indie alternative rock. When you guys put on an album in late December of 2019, so the release show was March of 2020, and we all know what happened in March of 2020.
Yeah.
So you guys were actually the last live show I got to see
You were at that show?
before everything shut
Yeah,
down.
he was.
I was in
Yeah.
my original band at that time too, and
Yes.
played that show with
Yeah.
the Cryptid.
Yes,
That's funny.
I actually streamed all the sets
Yeah.
too. So
I just
My
literally
equipment-
just watched that live stream. the
I
other
was
day.
just
That's
we-
cool.
Nick
Watch
had
that right
mentioned
now.
before. Yeah, he was watching.
Oh, I remember my outfit. I look radioactive.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love it. But no, my equipment stayed in my car for probably a year after that because we didn't meet for like a year
my
after
God.
that.
Yeah.
So I just never took it out.
It was exactly the day that we played that show was the day that like places started canceling all their events and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And then a week later, is when everything shut down. Exactly a week after that.
I
show.
think because we were still, be figuring it out at that point. Like, how long is this thing going to be? Is this really that big a deal? Like,
Yeah.
and nobody had any clue that it was going to
No,
last.
And like that was a great show for. We had a great turnout at that
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that our big thing was like prior to that, like we hadn't written much or like recorded or released any new songs. So we're like, this is gonna be a different, like we're gonna start writing and releasing music. I don't remember how to play any of our songs at this point.
Yeah, it's
I
been a
found
while.
I found that article recently that you had posted, and it's crazy looking back at it now because I think one of the things I said was
So young
like,
and
oh
full of
yeah,
hope.
this is the start of recording and doing things every single month. And it's 2.5 years.
And the world was
now,
like, nope.
but
Played a lot of PUBG during that time.
yeah.
PUBG just has to sponsor you at this point, man.
GTA 5, yeah. Became a millionaire in GTA 5.
So
in
the
like 2 months.
EP, for those who want to look it up, is Something to Remember. You get it on Bandcamp. Is there any plans to, now that obviously things are back and shows are happening again, are you thinking about that, or are you just really focused on the Taxmen right now?
So like, not to sound cocky, but like, please look that up because I think that's our like personal best.
It's a great album. It really
Thank
is.
you, thank you.
Thank you.
So, we really haven't talked about the Cryptid in forever because, unfortunately, the way the way that life goes is you work lots of days and you play days, and you have to unfortunately maximize what is going to benefit you monetarily. Sometimes, depending on your point in your life, and we're all young and looking to
Broke.
for the most part, and looking at the next phase in our lives because of where we are at. And I could speak for myself at least on this, that right now the more viable thing for me at this point in my life to focus my energy on is the Taxmen, I would say, because we are seeing obviously some. Fortunately, very luckily for us, some pretty good success, pretty good fan turnout. For me, and we really haven't spoke about this, but I feel as though I would very much enjoy picking up the Cryptid where we left off again at some point in life, because as we had said off camera, For me, the Cryptid has always been. I never really cared if 5 people listen to it or 5 million people, because it's always just been one of my favorite things to do is get together and write songs and record them and just have a great time doing it. That was kind of long-winded, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't expect to see the Cryptid playing a show anytime soon
Yeah.
for a multitude of reasons. One, because it, like with us playing, with the Taxmen playing, it's just going to create too much a headache and conflict.
Yeah.
Right.
The thing is, like, in terms of like original music in this area, that genre really doesn't have much of a place in like the live scene. Like, this is more of a hardcore live scene. Not to say that there are bands who don't do that, but and the music is great, but like in terms of releasing albums, it works out very well. Just the live scene here isn't necessarily geared towards that.
Yeah, I agree.
But probably just look out for just music being released, because like we're not going to stop writing music. We're not going to stop getting it recorded and releasing it, because playing shows with Taxmen isn't like can't stop that. Like it's not really going to get in the way too much, because like that's something we can do in our own time.
It's just finding time. We're very busy. All of
But no,
us
it's
are
not.
very
It's not.
busy.
It's not dead.
It's not dead.
No, I have like a
It is still out there.
Probably-
much like Mothman.
Probably like
he is out there.
probably like 50 to 70 songs that I have backed up now, waiting to do something with. So yeah, I mean, I'm eager to get back to that.
Yeah. I tend to agree. Because there's just it's really great, and I could say personally, I'm extremely grateful and thankful that we've been able to be successful playing like music. Like, we go and play music, man, and we have a great time, and people like to hear it, and that's awesome. But like, there's a whole level of just really like, I want to show the grandkids this someday. Like, look at this CD. We used to make CDs. Like, it's just very cool. It's just exactly. It's just like very cool. It's just like very cool to have your own like art. I don't know. Create art if you're out there. Create music. It's awesome. The Cryptid is not dead. We'll be back. But for now, the Taxmen is what's going on.
Much like other cryptids, you gotta believe it's out there.
Yeah,
It's out there.
You have to want to believe.
Band name's appropriate.
There you go.
It's not dead. It is
a
not
good
dead.
closing line.
All right, so what's next for you guys? Where can people catch you? I think you have some cool shows coming up that were just announced
Yes.
recently. So
You definitely want to get linked up on our Facebook. That's where everything is. You know, we're very active on the Facebook. We've got we're playing the Jazz Cafe on 6/4. That's a big one coming up. July is going to be crazy busy. We got the opportunity to play the Inclusion Festival this year, which is it's out in Kempton, PA. It's a festival. It's like a weekend thing at this campsite, and it's like it's a concert meant for people of all disabilities and all different walks of life to be able to come and enjoy music, you know, no matter what. So like, what's really cool is we're gonna have an ASL interpreter for our set, you know, and there's gonna be some kind of workshops where, you know, like we're sending them the set list ahead of time, and there's gonna be like a few songs where like they let everybody know, and like the woman was telling me, you know, they have like yoga sessions based off of certain Beatles songs. So it's like it's gonna be a really great experience for all of us, just as a band and as individuals. That's July 16th. I think that's July 16th.
July 16th.
The following Friday, we're playing Rockin' the River in Wilkes-Barre, right down the road, and that's like wild to us, because
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've all been to those shows. You get thousands of people. It's a big stage, and it's like, holy crap! Like, I'll never play that, you know. And then here we are. You know, we had the opportunity to meet Alan Stout and Will Beekman, who are, you know, big names in local politics around here and everything. And they reached out to us and they said, we've heard great things. We would love to have you. Let me know. And so we'll be doing that on July 22nd. We're going to be co-headlining with Dustin Douglas and the Electric Gentlemen.
Nice.
You probably get to hear some solos from Dustin in our set. And we're trying to figure out a way we could row up to the stage in some sort of a yellow boat.
A yellow propane
so
tank.
Let's talk to a special guest about that. And would not blow everybody's minds? Like, would that not
Or
be
blow
epic?
up.
That'd be an
Propane
entrance.
tank.
In the end, it's gonna be my green kayak that I have. We're gonna be rolling up in my green kayak.
We're gonna be like rowing in like those foot boats.
I mean, it is easy. The river does flow south.
Those are the two big ones.
Hop on there in Pittston and ride it down.
But yeah, that's definitely get on
502.
definitely get on Facebook. And then with special guests, their whole thing is just getting bands in new venues. So it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be easy to sell a Beatles band, and who knows? Again, sky's the limit. Who knows where they'll end up putting us, and what'll come from all of this. And we're very excited for sure for those 2 July shows and just all of them. Like Ryan said, it's really fun and rewarding to be able to play music live. People come no matter what; they love it. Even if we suck, they love it, and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's been really great. And the bigger the show,
Sometimes we do suck.
sometimes we suck. Sometimes we have nights like that. And that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's just part of this world we're in.
The best way to get better is start screwing up. Honest to God, it is. Start screwing up.
I think the best way to get better is to record yourself and listen back.
True. And
One
listen
thing-
to how
And
much
you
you
hear all your
screwed up.
mess ups.
Sounds like a way to hate yourself.
Yeah, one thing.
You'll hate yourself for sure.
One thing,
For sure, but-
one thing to inspire like young and new musicians is something that always stuck with me. Not to take down the funny, but one thing that's always stuck with me from my college choir instructor always said, if you're gonna make a mistake, make it loud, because if it's not loud, I can't hear it and I can't fix it. So if you're gonna make a mistake, make it loud so it can be fixed. And that's what we do. We make mistakes, but we make them loud and then we fix them.
Another thing too is like people don't normally catch them. There's a few diehards that maybe will, but like for the most part, people are like, "You messed up where?" And I'm like, "Really? You didn't notice it?" And that's just how it is. Think about, you go see any big national band. Like again, every show somebody's messing up. You don't know. And then you just get used to it. You learn how to jump back on the rails and, or cover up your mistake, or just stop playing for like that one beat, and then you catch your note and like whatever. But
I can never be a poker player because, like, when I mess up, I just start laughing hysterically.
yeah, you hear Ryan go,
Oh yeah,
Kinda hear
whenever,
me bleeding through the
whenever
mic,
something happens,
laughing.
we just turn around and he's just there like smiling, like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, especially.
you gotta
like
laugh it off though. You gotta laugh it
Yeah.
off.
I'm always like, yo, I'm sorry. We have played this song 1,000 times. And
Yeah.
I've never messed that up, literally ever. And for some reason, it happens. We
Yeah.
just start screwing up, and that's how you get better. And we're lucky to play, and we have a lot of cool shows coming up.
We just sometimes we screw up.
To sum it
and
all
then-
up.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Come
And we got
to
some
a
shows
show
coming
and hope
So
we
what
don't
was
do
the
that.
question? Where to see us next?
So come see these screw ups.
We are the screw ups, not the taxmen.
Come to a show. If we
Nah.
screw up, sorry, give us your money.
We're only human.
It's
You
too
can have a
late. You've
sticker.
already paid.
Yeah, you can have a sticker. You can have a button for your
Free
troubles.
pen.
And a pen, yeah.
And very cool.
Not even, it's a
things,
button.
And a story to tell your friends.
Yes.
Yeah, you get to
That's
go
the
home.
gift that keeps on
You
giving.
get to go home and laugh at us to your friends.
All right. Well, that seems
On
like
that
a good
note.
place. That seems like a good place to end.
Yeah, ended on the confidence. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys will see us screw
Wait,
up.
I have a question for you, Rich.
Okay.
What is your favorite Beatles song? And what is your favorite album?
Questioning the questioner. I like it.
Let's do this whole thing.
And
We ask-
what's your least favorite Beatles song? And no, I'm just kidding.
know that you are
This is under oath. man.
withstanding the ire of every Beatles fan,
Right. Yeah.
including us sitting right here, and we're within attacking distance.
Well, I'm sorry to be more. I'm just more of a casual Beatles fan. I'm not hardcore, super listener or anything like that. It's fun. My introduction to the Beatles was staying over my grandmother's house when my uncle was still living there. He was a huge Beatles guy, so he had like Beatles posters on his walls and stuff like that. And we would go upstairs more or less to play his Nintendo, and be like, "Oh yeah, hey Uncle Steve's anyway, we're playing our."
Playing Star Wars.
I did that with my uncle.
but it was like, who are these guys? Like, what is this? I think he had I can picture it. It was like a Sergeant Pepper poster, and with all of the who's that, and all these different people on them and stuff. And I think that kind of opened up that. So I would say, if I had to pick the album, I think that would be it. But like song wise, maybe Let It Be, as cliche as that is.
It's a great song.
I love asking people that question because like with us, like we don't know.
Yeah.
We only had those answers because 3 days ago we told somebody else those answers. But like I ask people and they're like, oh man, and like 10 songs just come to mind, which is kind of like why I ask, because every time nobody just has one, because so many come to mind and there's so many great songs. So.
Right.
Are there any that you despise or skip?
No, not necessarily that I don't that I'm annoyed with. I'm more annoyed like I'm not a radio guy. Like I don't listen to the radio in the car. I don't listen to the radio at home. I'm sorry for radio people out there who are like people who work in radio. Like I hate to diss another media outlet sort of thing because they're all really good people. But I'm not into that kind of stuff because I feel like all of that stuff it's even if they're playing good songs, they've played them to death where they have absolutely no meaning anymore.
I feel that.
But you know what? They don't really play a lot of Beatles when you think about it. Like when I think of like local stations and stuff, I don't know any of them that really, unless you're tuning into a specific like Ed show.
Unless you listen to the Ed show.
Yeah,
right?
you're listening to like maybe college radio or
Well, I
something.
still like to take like Rock 107 and all the classic rock music and like the Beatles songs they play is like Aerosmith doing Come Together and stuff like that. It's like it's never the Beatles.
Yeah.
Who's that heavy
Aerosmith doing
band?
Come Together, and then later in the same day you get Come Together. The Beatles.
Yeah.
Who's that? There's like a hard rock band that did a cover of "Come Together" that you hear a lot. No, like a more modern from today.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nickelback?
No.
Any of them?
No, it's like Buck Cherry or something random like that.
And we're talking modern, and you're gonna say Buck Cherry?
Well, not Aerosmith. Like,
Well, yeah, but you know that is now like 20 years ago, right?
Whatever.
So-
Worst band on the
So
planet.
I heard on the topic of old and
Shout out to
classic
Buck
rock
Cherry, worst
radio,
band on the planet.
I heard
hope you're
Seven
watching,
Nation
Buck.
Army on Rock 107 on classic rock.
Take that,
Seven
Buck.
Nation Army was on there.
Oh no.
And then I was like, we're old.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, I remember when I was like 17 and they started playing Nirvana, and I was like,
yeah,
oh,
they're
that's
playing
so-
Green Day and Nirvana.
right.
It's like, why is this on classic? What is going on? Where did this go?
one time-
And then you remember Bleach was released in '89.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
One time I was at a party and I asked this girl what her favorite band, classic rock band was, and she said Nirvana, and I was like,
That's not classic
cool. Talk to you later.
So long, child.
Yeah.
She actually said that?
Yeah, she said her favorite classic rock band.
Ryan's a good
Yo,
It is. It's unbelievable.
It's true.
yo, fuck that shit.
I'm so
want
glad,
that on a shirt.
I'm so glad we saved the fuck to the end of it.
Yeah.
Way to-
I'm glad Ryan said it.
Don't worry, we can still be PG-13. That was our one.
You get one. Yeah, you get one. I think I whispered.
Well, I
one
did say
before,
two.
Well, fuck.
Or
All right. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. You guys really need to check these guys out. They've you probably won't be able to see them at the open mic. They've certainly graduated from that, but that's the whole point of the NEPA Scene Open Mic is to get people to that next part, and they are certainly there, and they're well on their way to the next part. So. keep a lookout for them. Make sure you come to Rockin the River. It's coming up fast. And we will see you here soon. So thanks for tuning in. You might hear another song after this, so stay tuned. If you're still tuned in at this point, we've been going a little long, but there's something good waiting for you at the end, so you should keep watching. Have a good night.
And check out Something to Remember. Do it.
Yes, please.
Or don't, but do it.
On all streaming platforms.
Just look it up.
Yes.
Even if you hate it, tell us.
Fuck. Love getting rejections.
We love rejections. Yeah.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. We'd like to sing a song called Twist and Shout.